34. And we'll do Pledge of Allegiance.
I thought you were talking to me. I'm like, I am.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Tillis, can you take attendance?
Mrs. Castle? Here. Mr. Hirakawa?
Here.
Mr. Lanacey?
Hello.
Mrs. Mack? Here. Mr. Strain?
Here. Okay, 1.2. Oath of office for the newly elected board members. Are you going to make them orally
They can if they want. It's
or just sign? I don't care either way. Whatever you want to do.
read it and then sign.
Would you like me to read it out loud?
You can if you'd like to.
Eric, what do you think?
If you're going, I'll follow your lead. Whatever you want.
We could do it together.
No.
I have, if it's okay, I've read and I'm acknowledging my agreement with the oath, and I'm happy to sign this oath, which I'll do. Thank you.
I also have read this document and agree to uphold the oath.
Hey, borrowed a pen so we could sign it.
Oh, both did.
And I file this with.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Everything's forever archived.
No, I have a pencil.
Yeah.
I have a pencil in the other room. I know I have to sign.
You have to sign your name, Eric, not mine.
Oh, I didn't have that.
And I believe we have a need for
Congratulations.
executive session. Yes?
Please.
Okay, I need a motion.
I move.
And a second?
Second.
And the reason is for the medical, financial, credit, or employment history of a particular person or corporation or matters leading to the appointment, employment, promotion, demotion, discipline, suspension, dismissal, or removal of a particular person or corporation. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those against? Okay, sorry to keep everybody waiting. We've already opened our meeting. Do we need a motion to go back into open session?
I'll make a motion.
And a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those against? Okay, good. 1.5, review of the agenda or additions to the agenda. Would you like to talk about the agenda?
Sure. Good evening. Welcome to our May Board of Education meeting. As you can see from the agenda, we are going to kick off with some recognition of our music students and some things they've done that really go above and beyond just taking the traditional class. Then tonight we'll be giving you a little bit of an update on the capital project, kind of where we stand, and having kind of a board discussion of kind of some next steps to proceed with that. So that's kind of our main highlights, and of course some appointments of club advisors for the 17-18 school year.
Okay, thank you. And we will move right into royal recognition. So, do you want to, is it Mrs. Newell?
It's actually Mrs. Newell and Mrs. Swart, actually, who are both in the audience, so it's great. So if you don't mind joining me, both of you, if that's okay, please. Thank you so much. And so you got a whole set of round of applause just for standing up. This is great. So again, those of you that have been through the process before, as you know, it's kind of something very important to the board to recognize students that go above and beyond and kind of capture the mission statement of the district, which again, you'll see in our hallways. You kind of see it on all of our letterhead. It's our big thing. So one of the pieces that we throw out to the faculty and staff is basically what kind of, if you're going to make a nomination, what really stands above. So, if a student participates in something, it's not just that they participated, but what did they do? What was the spirit and the heart in which they did that? So Mrs. Newell and Mrs. Swart actually nominated their, actually a couple different groups, actually. So actually we had all county students and NYSSMA students who really do capture, if you're familiar with the music program in NYSSMA and all county, that is really synonymous with the phrase above and beyond. So I'll actually ask our music teachers, if that's okay, to kind of speak on what that means to go above and beyond. What do the students have to do to kind of...
The all-county participation basically is where our students go over and above. They are selected by a manager from Rensselaer County Music Association to participate in a band or a chorus of 80 students in strength, and it's usually the best students from the 13 area school districts. So we submit names and our managers look through, compare, and select the students. The students have to put in extra time practicing the music. It's more difficult than what we do here sometimes, and sometimes it's not. But they need to practice, so when they go to the rehearsals on a Thursday evening from 4 to 7:30, and then once again on Saturday from 9 until 2, they're prepared to play along with their peers and put a concert together that evening. Excuse me. Would you like to talk about this one?
Sure. Okay, so NISMA is it starts with level 1 and goes to level 6, all state level. And basically, the kids go, they prepare solo, and they sit in front of a judge and they perform their solo. They do some scales, some sight reading, and then they get a score. Later on, in levels 5 and 6 all state, that gets them to be this. It serves as an audition for area all state and conference all state for this entire state of New York. And,
So as you can hear, this is truly an example of above and beyond. Whether you're being, I think the whole NISMA process, especially, is very, takes a lot of rigor to be in a room one-on-one with someone watching you, every move you make and every note you play. That's well, it sounds very scary, but obviously it takes a lot of work and practice. And of course, the all-county piece of committing to a level of evening rehearsals and pieces here. So really, again, it is a lot of work on top of a 9-period day and on top of a regular day. So again, we're very excited to honor our students. So we will start. Actually, we have our students in the audience. So if you've been through our process before, what you know our tradition is, our board is ready and all set. And of course, what we'll do is we'll ask you students, if you don't mind, is to take your certificate. And if you don't mind kind of hanging out over here so we can get a good photo op, both for your families and of course for Twitter. So that'd be great. So actually, let's see, we have All County Elementary Chorus. So Ms. Swart, I will have you read our chorus names.
First one up is Sarah Geiser.
So you were the first one, so it's good.
Now everybody else. Good job.
Nice job.
Okay, and Bella Marty.
Congratulations. Great. Congratulations.
Thanks. Erin Pendergast and Greta Zampier both participated in the junior chorus, but they couldn't be here tonight. And Bridget Mack as well.
And students that are not here will make sure they get their certificates tomorrow on TV.
Congratulations.
And Ms. Newell, would you mind our band and NISBA students?
Yes, definitely. Our elementary band members are Teresa Crawford, who's not with us this evening, Lauren Schubeck,
Good job, boy.
Cooper Murray,
Good job.
Ryan Strang is not with us this evening, but our final elementary band was Tyler Quinn. You forgot him?
Nice job, Ty. Nice job.
Our junior band friends who played in a band made up of 6th, 7th, and going the wrong direction, 7th, 8th, and 9th graders. So that was quite an achievement there. Happened to be Ben Addis, who's not with us this evening, Samantha Cupp, who also is not with us, and Aiden Flannery.
Nice job. We'll throw it back to you. Nice job.
We're going to move on to our NISMA solos. As Ms. Swart said, that's where students put a lot of time in by themselves. They played at different levels. And I'm going to start off with the one student, Cooper Murray.
Another good. Fantastic.
Good job.
Another student, Ryan Strang, did an alto sax solo. Tyler Quinn. We had a NISMA solo on flute, Riley Countess.
You're welcome.
Samantha Cup performed a clarinet solo. She's not with us this evening. On trombone, Shay Kerwin. Hannah McClearly did a clarinet solo. She's not with us this evening, but on trumpet was Antonio Morales. Alana Penman performed flute solo. She couldn't be with us this evening. But on percussion for snare drum, Anthony Lanissy.
Wait till graduation.
Yeah.
All three of these students went on vocal this year. This was Bill and Marty's first year. And she was so excited. Oh my goodness. It's like jumping out of her skin. Next up, Georgiana Montagna. This is her second year. Last but not least, Bridget Beck. There we go.
Nicely done. Have another round of applause for our students. And Mrs. Newell, Mrs. Ward, thank you for nominating them as well. Again, that takes work as well. And also, it should be noted the work they do to make sure that students are prepared. This is also. Thank you. So, students, can we just get a picture of you? That's okay. Families, any? There's a good photo op too, if you want to. Let's see. I think this will work. This will work. This is perfect. Yep, everybody is visible. Okay, let's see. We'll start. I'll be last. So, families, if you want to start from left to right. No, please. Okay, guys, you look over here. Perfect. Okay, 1, 2, 3.
Mr. Bordick, what do you label?
Okay, thank you.
Hashtag certificates.
Certificate. That's good. So too. He's like the process.
That's exactly.
That's actually.
Why is that? Why are you laughing?
That's pretty hip. Guys, thanks for coming.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, folks.
Cleared out pretty good, didn't it?
Love to stay. Hope you have a good
Hey.
Where's everybody going?
Mr. Geiser, thanks again. It's a pleasure.
band that needs to be passed.
Does anybody have open windows? That would be a good time.
Good question.
Think about it. This is Subaru, as I said.
Anybody read that?
Told you about the storm.
Looks like it's about to storm.
That's why I just, I left the windows open at home. And so I just said to my wife, get home and leave them up.
Well, that's why I am when I'm not in there, and then you get back in the car and get the gloves. Put them right on.
Okay.
I thought they were all here for us.
They were.
I'm really
You know,
They thought that was you guys.
yeah. Just waiting for a certificate.
This is all happy here.
Yeah. Hashtag.
Okay, continuing on with our meeting. 1.7, approval of minutes from previous meetings. Looks like we have 5. April 10th, April 25th, April 26th, May 3rd, and May 9th.
A motion.
A second.
Any discussion or questions? No. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those against? Okay. Acceptance of financial reports. Looks like we have 2. We have the monthly claims auditor's report for March and April of 2017, and the monthly treasurer's report with budget transfers. I need a motion.
A motion.
And a second.
Second.
Any questions, discussion? No? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those against? Okay. 1.9, building use. Looks like we just have one request for this meeting. Mountain View Volunteer Fire Department for the ball field. I need a motion.
A motion.
And a second.
Second.
Any questions? Discussion? Do anything else?
I'll say this is for drills and things like that.
Yeah.
Oh, they're not playing like a pickup softball game? Yes, they are.
Well, they're playing stuff. Oh, I thought they were doing drills.
No, I think.
Weren't they doing drills
No,
yesterday?
No, the drills will be in June
Oh,
here in the
the drill- oh.
building. They're actually going to come in
Oh,
and
that's-
do scenarios in the building at night.
Wrong fire department. Sorry. That's Wynantskill, right?
They're coming to play softball.
It says softball.
Oh, I thought it was a drill.
It was a typo.
Softball drill.
There is a drill on your
It's a
calendar,
typo.
though. For your
It's a-
defense, there it is there.
It's a code.
Okay.
That's good.
Now that we have that clear.
Made it quite unclear.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those against? 1.10, visitors and communications. I didn't receive any communications. Did you receive anything? No? Okay. And letter B, opportunity for the public to be heard. Has anybody signed up?
Not for the beginning.
Not for the beginning. Okay. There will be an opportunity at the end. Moving on to 2.0, reports to the Board of Education. 2.1, Board of Education Board discussion reports. Looks like CS Arch is up.
All right. Hi, everybody. Thanks for having us tonight. So first, I want to give a bit of a project status update. I got Kyle with me tonight here as well. You guys all met Kyle. Has anybody not met Kyle? All met Kyle. Okay. So all of our low bid contractors have been vetted out, and they've been given the notice to proceed. We've been starting to get some bills from contractors, getting the ball rolling. We had a pre-construction meeting with all the contractors and all their project managers on Wednesday this week, on the 17th. So they're all basically getting ready to mobilize at this point. They will probably start to mobilize on site on or about the week of June 5th. They will start kind of bringing materials and whatnot onto the back of the site, putting up fencing in the back of the building, creating the dedicated areas where they're going to have laydown and construction, and then they'll start doing the brushing and grubbing on the back of the hill there to start the retaining wall. That's going to, they probably will start showing up on site right around the 5th of June. So that's the good news. We received the bids, as you know, on the 16th of February. We did come in over budget. We discussed that at length with the board for several reasons. Number one, and probably the most prevalent, was the delay that we ran into with that state education department. It was unforeseen. We decided to prolong the period between the time we got the approvals and the bid. We feel like we got good coverage on the bids, albeit the escalation was a little higher than what we anticipated. There were some unforeseen upgrades that the state education department mandated that we do for the building, the fire access road being one, some inside access point decisions that need to be made that increased the cost a little bit. That wasn't a heavy number, but it was definitely a contributing factor. Frankly, we underestimated certain portions of the project at the pre-ref stages of the budgeting. Some of that is, we have to kind of make an educated decision and best guess, and as we develop the project, some of those things are naturally going to end up being a little bit higher than what we originally anticipated. So there's definitely some culpability there relative to estimating. And then there was what we like to call scope creep, but essentially what it is additional items that came up in the development of the project that were brought up either by staff or the previous administrations, the current administration, that included in the overall project budget. We've summarized that in the spreadsheet that you guys have in front of you, and we've digested that in session with you to help you understand what those numbers mean and how we arrived at those. So next steps, as we talked about before, it's our responsibility to make sure that we bring the project in on budget, on a budget that the project can go forward and be built, essentially. That's the culmination, that report that you have in front of you is a culmination of that process. And that's what you hired us to do, and that's where we're at right now. So our next steps, and obviously you've seen on that sheet, are value engineering. We've talked about some of those items. Some of the things, just like if we were doing a project at our own houses, you come in over budget, it's a little more than you can afford. You got to figure out what you can either scale back on or take out of the project to make sure that you can still build the vast majority of the project. It's our goal to make sure that we're not decreasing the overall value and quality of the project, but still getting the majority of the pieces of the puzzle into the project, and that's reflected on those sheets. Like I said, we presented those for your review and acceptance. The board voted on May 3rd to move forward with the project based on the proposed VE items that you see on that list. That's a good thing because that means the project can get started, the contractors can start doing their work, and then they can basically mobilize and get the project going and still hit the deadlines and the overall completion deadline that we're still slated for, so that's a good thing. As we discussed, the board may elect to be involved in our OACM meetings or our owner, architect, construction manager meetings it's actually not monthly, it's bi-weekly, whatever interval you feel comfortable with. But we'd encourage board involvement in those processes, and that's where we're going to discuss things like if there's extra money or things coming under or where we have contingency dollars available, those would be vetted out with the board and a decision would be made to move forward or not on those particular items. That's the forum for that meeting, and that's an ongoing bi-weekly meeting that will start that first week of June. As soon as the contractors arrive on site, that's the start of that process. In addition to the OACM meetings, we have our contractor meetings, which we lead. We invite the district personnel to be involved in that. That's usually not the forum for board members to be at. More than welcome to attend if you want. That really gets into more nitty-gritty day-to-day operational things, where the OACM is typically more overreaching the total project. Okay. So for tonight, we have some items that we need to discuss, so that you need to discuss relative to prioritization of certain items that have to be a decision needs to be made on so that we can move forward and we don't miss the opportunity to proceed with those particular items. Those items are EFIS versus brick on the outside of the building. We presented some information for you in your board packets that you hopefully have had a chance to review. Terrazzo versus VCT flooring in the corridors of the addition. The extent of the abatement scope that we do within the confines of the project. And then the gymnasium ventilation piece, which we talked about a little bit earlier. So those are the four main items that we need to kind of come to some kind of a consensus or prioritization on and decide which way we want to proceed. And then subsequently we'll make a decision and evaluate the overall financial implications of those.
What was the third one you said?
The third one was the extent of the abatement scope. Okay. Does that get you?
That was a 4, right?
That was a 4.
Yeah.
Okay. Discussion? Questions? Happy to answer anything.
Do you want to go through them like one by one? Is that how we want to kind of do, like throw the first one up there and have a discussion on there?
I'm not opposed to that. We can do that.
For organizational purposes, I think that'd be perfect.
Okay.
So shall we start perhaps with maybe the EFS versus brick? Perhaps that'd be a good piece. And again, just for the audience and of course for the record, these were discussions as Ed and Kyle kind of alluded to as well. The board did receive, some renderings of and cost comparisons of these pieces. So there is some information that we're referencing that the board has seen. So the one question was, of course, EFS versus brick. EFS being a less expensive alternative to brick
In the short term.
in the short term.
Well, in the long term, too.
It was in the long term.
Yeah, what
Yeah.
we did, when we calculated out the life cycle cost of that, kind of the replaceability of that product versus the long-term durability and maintenance of that product, it ended up being, in terms of cost it out over 40 years, it ended up being a little bit less.
Less of a difference, you mean? Or
Less expensive in the overall
Less
lifespan,
expensive,
and the
yeah.
40-year lifespan. Just for everybody's reference, we can say EIFS, EIFS, it's an abbreviation for exterior insulation finish system. It's essentially stucco.
Google that, so you see.
I jumped
Would not
fast.
have
Yeah.
told that.
Google lets you down.
Just some thoughts on some of this
Sure.
based on what we had conversation on before, brick versus EFS. Thanks for the renderings. I think they helped out. Thanks for that other information. Where I landed with things and the other things on the list, my thought would be go to the EFS just because we had some concerns about breakdown with kids throwing balls off the wall and stuff. Like I was actually talking with Keith and we talked about how that happens. Just looking at how the rendering is with, there's a sidewalk and, there's a retaining wall. It's not a space that I think as a kid that would go and take a lacrosse ball and lacrosse stick and throw it off the wall, because that's where my main concern was. Because you look for that, right, and that would bust that thing up. I think that the way that structure is laid out, it doesn't really lend itself to that type of space that I would go and do that, right? I'd be looking to destroy the wall, right, rather than go down lower onto find a different surface, right? I would find a different surface. At least I hope I would if I was 12 years old. But so my thought was, with the cost analysis, with the layout of it, and it's how it looks, right? I even drove by the Wynantskill the new fire department, checked it out, right?
Freesville?
The Freesville, right? Yeah. Took a look at that one, and I thought it'd be okay. So that's kind of where I had landed with that.
And when we talked about it, we talked about a higher, a more durable EFS on the lower section,
On the lower sections, correct. Yep.
just for those reasons.
What does that durability pertain to, out of curiosity?
Meaning, like impact resistance is one factor of it. Abrasion resistance, and so if somebody's running up against it, is it gonna peel off, or is it gonna scratch the surface? There's a couple factors. Those are the two main ones. Mainly impact resistance and then abrasion resistance. And both of those materials are, like I said, we talked about a higher level of abrasion and impact resistance at the lower levels, where presumably somebody could be either rubbing up against it or or throwing a ball at it, or whatever the case may be. That being said, and full disclosure, if somebody backs a tractor into it, it's going to damage it. But if somebody backs a tractor into the brick wall, it's probably going to damage it as well. So
Yeah, we love that one.
yeah. You'd be surprised.
Luckily, we don't have a tractor.
We don't have a trailer. We're fine.
That's the one big thing that we find with EFS sometimes near grade is that when you're mowing the lawn, if it's not the right EFS at that lower grade, it can get destroyed. But we know what to do to fix that problem.
And the plan is not to have any grass next to it, even when it was brick.
Correct.
Not to, so there's no mowing up next
It
to
would
it.
probably be more of a snow blower. The snow blower tractor
Sure.
in the wintertime is what you would probably have rubbing on that wall.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, it's still, the pathway is still far enough away. We deliberately created a buffer zone around that area, so you wouldn't have to be rubbing against the building.
Didn't you also say that the EFS has a higher R factor?
It does.
For insulation purposes?
Yes. Yeah, it is a little bit better insulating material. Yeah.
What I thought was, again, just to reference the drawings too, I think one of the pieces that came up in the conversation was the fact that from an aesthetical point of view, or an aesthetic point of view, matching brick to old brick, it's never quite right to the point of it looks like you tried to match versus the renderings that you did share. I know that there wasn't necessarily final colors, but it was nice that it could be a markedly different look. So it wasn't like we were trying to blend a 1960s building with a current building, but that, no, it's a different edition and it has a different look to it as well. So I think the gray scale you kind of did was...
I wouldn't necessarily say it's monochromatic, but what Kyle did is picked a finish and a set of colors that, it's hard, again, in rendering, we can get close, but it's, until it's actually built, it's difficult to actually
And the
case
interior
point on
finishes
it.
are so different than what the existing school was. It's
Right.
really separate.
It was kind of designed and designated as, this is a different part of the building, you're in a different part of the building now, whether it be music or whether it be the pre-K. It sets it apart interiorly, so it makes sense to do that on an exterior basis as well, from an aesthetic standpoint.
I'm good with EFS.
Yeah, I am also.
I'm uncomfortable, but I'm happy to vote for EFS. I'm still uncomfortable. I mean, the durability thing is a bigger factor for me because the way you're talking about making sure that we're not planting grass next to the building makes me feel that it's very fragile.
No, we didn't even have grass next to the brick building.
Understood.
We left stone so that you're not putting, the lawnmower and trying to get a 2-foot strip of grass.
Right.
For civil and landscaping design, it's never really a good idea.
But the sense I get is that if you graze across it with a lawnmower, the EFS and the brick will respond a little bit differently.
Sure.
And I think one of the things that we got to figure out is how we're going to budget based on the life cycle costs. How we're going to budget to maintain that EFS over the next 40 years is going to be a little bit different than, it's upfront expense versus expense over time, and there's still a difference, but that's part of our calculation, right? But
Long-term planning too, yeah.
yeah.
Good.
But as I understand also from the life cycle analysis, if you include all the costs, the difference still even over that period of time was
It's
still
less.
pretty significant. Yeah. All right. I'll vote for EFS too. Sorry.
You're fine. I was just thinking though, damage sometimes to your building can be claimed under your insurance. If it was to be damaged that badly, so. That's what I would do in my house, right? Tree fall on it, whatever,
Yes.
fall my insurance.
Fair enough.
I think I'm okay.
Well, hopefully it doesn't come to that.
No, I hope not. I hope not. I'm just,
Especially
just throwing
trees
that
back
out there.
there.
It's
There's
not
not
like we
gonna
have
be
to
trees
have
back
a
there. Yeah,
EFS
yeah,
line on our
It's like you're
budget from
baby
here on
proofing
out.
the walls back there. Okay.
Okay, so I think it's decided on the
Yeah,
EFS.
I was torn, but then seeing the renderings, it's gonna look different anyway, you're not gonna be able to match the brick, so might as well just have it look different.
Yeah.
And I like the R factor, that helps, so wouldn't be my first choice, but it makes sense.
Okay. Great. Well, thank you.
Good.
Next one.
Terrazzo
Flooring.
versus VCT.
Yep.
Right?
Go ahead, Tom. You have your feelings.
I haven't really vocalized this a lot, I know, so it's going to come as a surprise. I do like the terrazzo flooring, I will say. Just
I'm on terrazzo.
watching the, and for the audience members, terrazzo, in case you're curious, rather than Googling, is the flooring we have. It's really the heavy-duty main hallway flooring versus the VCT vinyl composite
Yeah, composition top. Nailed it.
tile. So I just think it's a nicer look for a hallway when you're looking down the hallway. And that's what pops to me when you walk into a building in the summer after it's been waxed. The durability. It's just solid to me.
My feeling the wear and tear on the floor with the boots and the snow and
And
our weather here in the Northeast.
That's evidenced
and-
out in the life cycle costing as well.
Yes.
Clearly, it's a less expensive finish over a longer period
Yeah,
of time.
you gotta have the better floor.
I also think from an aesthetics, you see that different floor every time you walk in down to that, right? You're going to see the different floor too. So I'm terrazzo as well.
I prefer the terrazzo. Durability, looking at the cost factors that they sent, it just seems to make a lot of sense.
Yep. I echo all those thoughts. Cost, long-term cost.
Right.
Initially,
right.
it's a little bit more expensive, but long-term, it'll be worth it.
Agreed.
Okay. Moving on.
The extent of the abatement scope is the last one.
What do we have to do?
Well, we have a variance in place right now that says basically all we need to do is the abatement in the areas where we're affecting the path of the work. We don't right now. The way that the building is currently operated is it's the asbestos containing areas have been safed off. There's no way into those areas. They're under lock and key. There's big signs that say don't go in here. As we discussed, we do have to do some abatement in order to be able to get new plumbing and mechanicals over to the new addition. But that would be the only area that we do. The other areas would just remain status quo. And we have, like I said, we have a variance from the Department of Labor to be able to leave it like that.
So to set this up, what we're trying to decide is, do we just want to do a larger scale abatement, or just do what we have to do? And
Correct.
Well, I just want to do what we have to do. My understanding of asbestos is you should really leave it alone and not touch it unless you have to touch it.
Right, unless you have to touch it. And again, the situation with the material that exists right now is all the material in the building that has any kind of plumbing, all the material, including all the material that are not hazardous material containing, has been tested. We have reports that have been included in the documents to indicate all that. So all we have to do is the stuff that's in the path of travel for the addition. The asbestos is non-friable, which means until you disturb it, there's no hazard, no hazard. Until somebody goes in there and actually disturbs it, it's not a problem.
And I think when we were talking about it before, you said even if we had a leak where we may leave asbestos, it's still, we don't have to abate it at that point.
You do not have to do full-scale abatement, no, that's correct. Yeah, you'd only have to, all it requires is that the person performing whatever service needs to happen on those particular equipment or plumbing or whatever is certified to work in a hazardous material area. And most plumbing contractors, most mechanical contractors have people on their staff that do that. So it's not a rare thing, as it were. And it's can sometimes be more costly to do it that way because it requires a certain set of standards and training that this person has. But we're not talking about a factor of even 2. We're probably talking a factor of 0.25 to do that work.
And I know I've asked this before, but I forget the answer. I go back to when we had the lead testing and some of those issues in the pipes, you said they'd be taken care of during the construction. So are they now going to be taken care of, or are they in the section where we're looking not to do?
No, great question. I think what we have isolated based on watching other schools kind of remediate the process is that we're 99% sure that the remaining sinks, the non-potable sinks, that the issue is in the fixture itself, either the faucet or where the faucet connects to the actual lines coming in. So I think that can become part of the project, but I don't think it's going to require anything in the walls. I think it's going to be basically all external based kind of pieces, like either the soldering or a new faucet. So kind of independent of the abatement. But we do have one pipe issue that we did discuss at the last meeting that does need to be fixed for our heating season next year. Whether it's covered under the project piece or we do it privately, regardless, we did have it checked out. It's in a non-asbestos area, so it can be replaced. So if we weren't doing the project, we had to replace it on our own through using an independent contractor. We would just have someone come in and
it would
that
be
helps.
more cost effective to do incidentals during the course of the project because the guys are already here. You just add that to the scope, and it's usually less expensive to go that route. What we have found, and we've had a lot of lead testing over the last 2 years in districts all over the state, is that the vast majority of those instances, save very few exceptions, where they're kind of anomalies. The major problems have been with the actual fixture, where the water is exiting from the device. We have had piping tested inside the pipes. We've had industrial hygienists out at numerous buildings throughout the Capital District, and the pipes aren't the problem. It's either the solder or the appurtenances at the point of discharge of the water. So.
And even if you did, if we went to like those other areas that we're going to not do, don't touch if we don't need to at this point. If we did do those, didn't you explain that there would still be in a building of this age asbestos somewhere in the building, so we'd never be totally asbestos-free anyway?
It's very, very important to note how we can abate and go abatement crazy, really. You'll never really, in a building this age, you will never be able to completely make the building asbestos-free. There's pipes in walls, there's things that are concealed that we can't get at, there's situations in floors when you start to do work that you can't anticipate. VAT floors exist almost throughout the entire school. Left alone and left undisturbed in normal maintenance, there's no cause for public concern or health concerns with those. It's when you do a project and you have to replace that floor is when they have to be abated. But we do many districts and many schools, they just opt to leave it alone. And frankly, it holds down better than the VCT that exists today. It's more durable than the VCT that exists today. It's a different composition of material. So it's usually our recommendation, if you can avoid it, leave it alone.
That's a great question, because I've been using the phrase, oh, so this will be a complete abatement, and realizing that I was wrong in saying that. That's a misuse of the term, that it's just abating the 2 crawl spaces, but not the.
Correct. It's a very important distinction that there are, save new construction, there are very few schools in the state of New York that were built between 1930 and even 1990 that have that don't have asbestos. You can still buy asbestos-containing materials in Canada. A lot of districts we do up in the north of the country, we have to write specific instances in there that not allowed to get any materials across the border, or import materials from across the border, because we have had instances where they've painted roofs with the silver stuff, and it's all hot, and then we ended up having to do a major abatement project. So stay away from that.
We have a go around of full abatement or as needed.
As needed.
Okay.
What's that?
You're as needed. Okay.
I'm sorry, what did you say?
Oh, do you want do the full project abatement or as needed abatement?
As needed.
That's needed.
I'm comfortable with the recommendation.
I'm also as needed.
Okay. Thank you. The last one on the list is the gymnasium ventilation. We talked a lot about that. Basically, the 2 options are, this was one of the items that we did as an alternate during the original project. We figured that was probably going to be a little bit on the high side, and it did come in quite a bit higher than what we originally anticipated. That was one of the underestimating items that we had on the original pre-referendum list. So it's really a matter of do we want to go forward with an approach that upgrades the ventilation with the existing equipment, or do we want to wholesale replace the entire system in there, which has obviously a pretty significant cost premium.
So we just based on the terms that we use, right? We called this the modified, the lower end. We called it the dumb upgrade, or something like that, right? Or the higher
Low tech.
The question I have is, how bad is the sound in there when it does kick on and those types of things? Just because I've been in there and I haven't noticed it, but I'm there usually for concerts and things like that, and
I
in
think they
games.
specifically turn it off, so it will not come on.
Oh, really? It's that bad? So it's not on during.
We could go down and listen if you want.
It's that bad.
We shut it on.
Okay, that's what I was wondering, because I was just in there for the concert, and I was like,
No, it definitely.
it's not that bad. I can't
You didn't hear a thing, did you?
This is why we don't do our own research.
According to my calculations. If it's okay to just pose a question that I think the board is probably where this answer for the studio audience is some of the questions that might be raised is, why are we thinking about this now? It's AC or it's ventilation that's there. Do you mind just explaining why we kind of have to decide on this a little bit sooner than later? Like what are the impacts now versus waiting
So there
7 months, 8 months?
Basically, it's in the path of construction. This work needs to happen now because they have to order equipment, is the big one. They have to provide structural frames for the stuff when we decide to put it on the roof, and that's all stuff that has to happen at the beginning of the project, as opposed to later on. We can't just simply retrofit because there's a lot of extra work that has to happen in that space. So it's kind of a decision that needs to be made relatively soon, within the next couple of weeks or so, so that we don't adversely affect the path of construction. When we, whether we do it intentionally or not, when we affect the path of construction, it costs, contractors are due change and money change orders for that.
So it's not as much as about the equipment as it's also the structure for the roof, because right now the units are in the gym, they're hanging off the ceiling versus on top of the roof, and of course there's structural pieces. So that was new to me, kind of thinking about it that way. So just thought I'd clarify.
And if we didn't go with the full price tag of the air conditioning, what would be done to the ventilation in there to improve it?
Right, so what we can do, the units that are put in there were put in 2008, so they're not ancient. If they were 1950s, we'd be having a very completely different discussion right now. But what we've confirmed with our mechanical engineers and also the contractors that did the job is that those units could be retrofitted to do a couple of different things. Number one, they put dampening on the units to basically reduce the amount of vibration in the units. We would extend the ductwork lines and put basically silencers inside the ductwork so that the air noise isn't spinning and circulating and get that whoosh that you get. We can reduce that. The other thing we could do is we put what's called a variable frequency drive on the motor that exists, so we confirm that this is actually retrofittable. Is that what it does is it ramps up the motor slowly to the point where it can be regulated, and then it ramps that motor down when it reaches temperature or when it reaches the proper amount of ventilation. What's happening now is it's it's on or off, and it's loud. So this flattens out that curve. It's not this, it's kind of more this. So it's those are things that we can do with the existing equipment to help the situation. The other thing that it will do is it will run, because it has a variable frequency drive on the motor, is that unit will run all the time. So it will run, part of the problem, the other problem is that it's trying to get the temperature and the ventilation requirements in that space to meet a certain requirement. And because it hasn't been on, or it's been functioning either full blast or not at all, to get that back to temperature, it takes a lot more energy from that piece of equipment. Now, there's chunking for a longer period of time, but if you run that thing constantly over a longer period of time, again, you're flattening out that curve. So it doesn't have that big spike when it turns on, and then it tries to get to temperature, and then we have those lag and lead times. So the whole idea is to flatten out the ventilation and get the proper amount of ventilation. Right now, if you're turning it off and then turning it on, you're really not ventilating that space correctly. But we can help that situation by kind of lengthening the time when that unit is actually activated. So those are things that we can do with the existing equipment that are quite a bit less costly. It doesn't get air conditioning, that's an important thing to understand, but it does get proper ventilation to the inside of that gymnasium space.
So something that does get new ventilation and air conditioning is the stage for the students. So that is in the project. That is part of the addition. They do with LED lights, so they're really not warm anyways compared to what you have.
Right.
And you would see in a normal school. So they give off pretty much no heat. But anyways, that would be air conditioned on that for the students during performances.
The gymnasium lighting is also something that's in the baseline of the project as well. The gymnasium gets all new lights.
So
right now, the lighting levels,
dimmed.
right, the HID bulbs that are in those take a long time to strike. Restrike, and when they shut off, they take a long time to get back up to speed again. The LED fixtures that we are replacing with the project are high bay LEDs. You turn them on, they're on. They light we did a lighting calculation to make sure that the foot candles are being met throughout the entire space with the new lighting, versus what now is kind of creates shadows, cones of light at different locations. This is much more even around the entire floor. So there are upgrades happening in the gym that are making it safer and making it more playable for the kids, for extracurriculars and intramurals.
So, my question is probably for you, Dr. Reardon. I want the air conditioning, but where do we find the money? Or do you have any ideas for that? Or, right?
That is
Question, right?
No,
if I want the supermodel, because that's what I want, not necessarily what I can have, but if that's what I want, is there ways to get there?
That is a great question. And because, as Ed and Kyle can attest, this is good. It is a pretty high ticket item because it's not just the structural piece for the roof, it's the new units, it's new ductwork, and it's actually new electricity or new electrical panels to go into that. I can't think of something in the project that would swap out like this for this, as we kind of went through. So it's a big enough price piece where it's not like, well, if we went with VCT tile, then we could have this. It's kind of like you'd have to go 4 or 5 sets of VCT tile equivalent things to get to that amount. So then that does kind of leave the board to think about if that was a piece they wanted to go with. We'd probably have to look at the current bond and either looking to use more capital reserve funds towards that, which of course would mean increasing the overall bond. I would think to get to that without almost decimating everything around it and just having air conditioning, leaving out a wall but having the AC, that kind of thing. But it is one of those things where it just would require some additional. I would think based on what we've looked at, there's nothing else that we can really.
No, we took a pretty exhaustive look at everything across the project, and this is a large enough piece that it would require additional funds to accomplish.
I mean, to me, and it's hard to say this on a 90-degree day, but it's such a large amount of money for air conditioning in a room that is, for the purposes that we really would enjoy the air conditioning, is 3-4 times a year, when not knowing what else the project could come up with, not knowing the cost of doing that and not being able to do lockers or this or something else that has a cost factor to it that right now might be an issue. To me, I can't support putting that much money into that. Upgrading the ventilation system, I think that would make a huge difference. The lighting, all of that, I think would be huge differences that would serve the purpose. That's my opinion.
What's the temperature difference on a day like today in the gym with our current ventilation versus the AC? Because I hear the 4 or 5 times a year, except that we use it every day, right. For the kids. So.
Well, I'll tell you, today I was in the kindergarten classroom today, and it was hot as Hades in there. I walked down the hall to go to the ladies' room down there, and it was quite comfortable. The lights were off in the gym, kids were playing in the gym, doors were of the gym to open. It was way more comfortable there than what it was for the kids in the classroom. I don't know whether it was because there's no direct sunlight coming in, or what, but, and of course, when you have graduation, you have your plays and you have your concerts, body heat and everything, and I totally get it. But for those few times in the year, I just can't justify that amount of money when there's so many other things that.
But just to be clear, though, so a few times a year is not a few times a year it gets hot.
Correct.
It's a few times a year when we have special events there.
Correct.
When parents and community come in to watch something, it's not daily gym classes, because those don't go on. Because they don't go outside on a 91-degree day, because it's probably too hot.
But my point
then we
is,
keep
the
them
gym is
inside.
still being used every day.
That's right.
Yeah,
It's being used every day, and like today, I'm sure. I don't know, do they go outside, Dr. Reardon, today?
It's today being an extreme day, they went outside for recess. I don't believe they went outside for phys ed. I think maybe the morning classes did. I know I know Coach Akotz wasn't taking them out.
Right. It's too long. It's too hot. They don't. Not everybody brings a water bottle, etc.
So back to the first question, which is what kind of temperature differences are we? What can the ventilation system do, even as upgraded, compared to what the new AC
air conditioning unit do? So there's a difference between ventilation and air conditioning. So ventilation is basically just changing air. You're taking the stagnant air out of the humid, stagnant air out of the space.
But there's a temperature benefit to that too.
Yeah, absolutely. You're removing anything to move moisture out of the air and change the air, and air movement is going to help with the overall temperature.
But it is bringing in air from outside.
That's true.
So that's the air it's using to move it. So on a very extreme day, we'll plant there. In order to move that air out of that gym, you're bringing in the air from the outside. So,
yeah, well, and where air conditioning comes in is basically you're taking that air and you're taking all the moisture and taking all the heat out of it, but at a very premium cost. So, it is much. Again, we could maybe quantify this. I'm not sure how easy it would be to do that, but it is significantly more expensive to run an air conditioning system in a space that large than it is to run a ventilation system. To cool that air down from a compressor, from the electricity associated with it, it's a pretty significant bump in the overall operational cost of that equipment.
And does the system have a dehumidifier on it?
I don't know, do you know that?
I'd have to look into it.
We'd have to get in the drawings and check out the existing unit. I don't know if the existing unit has dehumidification in it. I'd have to check there. I don't want to speak out of turn on that one. I don't know specifically.
So I have a question for you, Dr. Reardon.
Yeah, please.
If we did put air conditioning in there, would that space become rentable in the summer? Or do we pretty much shut the school down for regular maintenance throughout the summer?
That's a great question. Pretty much it would be rentable. I mean, for the most part, the school, just because of a lack of, I don't want to say interest, but we have the basketball camp. But then we had a summer, I think it was 2 summers ago, where we had the Hudson Valley soccer camp that was here. So certainly it's not like we shut down because of maintenance. We can easily clean this building and get it turned around in plenty of time for school. So certainly if the gym were a marketing piece, it could be available. I mean, rearranging of custodial staff, during the summer, obviously we go on day shifts, but certainly we could keep it like we are now. The gym's available, we could put somebody on at night. But that is a possibility, if you have the interest.
I think at our current rates, It would take an awful lot of events to
Yes.
find a cost benefit.
Unless there was a no AC on or an AC rate, like we'll turn it on for a while.
No AC rating.
Click.
Hamster
If it, I'm sorry, no, I mean, again, I'm probably sharing basic knowledge, but I think there is another piece, but I think it's, and guys, correct me if I'm wrong in kind of phrasing this, you could do the new ventilation on the roof without the AC, but at that point, the cost is negligible to add the AC. Right?
I wouldn't say negligible. No,
But-
Compared to just the replacement, yes, it's to add that piece.
So if you went forward with like this, let's put all the new equipment out there, but not provide air conditioning on that unit. There is a cost difference there. It's less expensive to go that route. It would help with the acoustic portion of that, but you're still not going to get air conditioning. There's an additional premium to put air conditioning. Basically, it's another chunk on the end of that air handler that provides the cooling and the condensing for that space.
But
So
we could buy that later.
you
in
can
time.
the cost of retrofitting that afterwards. Yes, you can add another Lego brick onto the end of that air handling unit, but the cost to pull it apart, put that on,
Understood.
rebalance
Do
the
it at-
system.
do it at the
Understood.
same time.
But it's not like what we're deciding between ventilation and air. You know what I mean?
I guess we'd have to make a decision because the unit actually grows in size.
Right.
If you want to put air conditioning later.
Well, I
so
think
you're paying for that
like
premium
if
of
we
just-
were to plan, we want to plan that eventually we're going to have that.
Okay.
It would require, so you'd want to put in the initial
Yeah.
electrical utility upgrade. You'd put in the additional steel that needs to hold that unit up there.
Yep.
And a lot of the space on the roof
Yep.
for that piece if you wanted to do it in the future. Yes, that's a possibility.
That's what I was
The co-
thinking. Like we would do as much as we could and would still try to save a little bit now because we will have more capital money down the road. Not right now, but
Presumably.
well, I mean, in 2019, we'd have to come up with a capital
So you roll
fund
your-
again,
right.
right? I mean, you keep going with it. You don't just
It would
stop your
expire.
capital
Your
fund.
your current
That rolls
bond,
off in, I
your
think
current
it's
reserve, rather.
Right.
2022, I think.
What's that?
20,
When your debt retires off your previous to
20,
2006.
yes, 2022, that would retire, but I think what Doris is referring to is the current capital reserve setup
Oh, right.
expires in 19, yes.
Yes.
Expires.
But you're right, yes,
Right. We'd have to, we kind of have to see what kind of leveraging the rolling off of debt service and current capital construction overage. We may be able to roll those together. Sometimes you can kind of compound those to offset local share. I don't want to speak out of turn. That's really a discussion that needs to be had with fiscal advisors. But those are the types of things that we can start kind of putting the wheels in motion on, and it's never too early to start planning for things like that too.
I was just curious, as a parent, I can only think of like 3 or 4 different occasions where the air conditioning unit would be used for big group shows or graduation. Would they use it during gym class? Would they turn the air on? I mean,
So,
As of days today.
If they have it.
That's a lot of money to.
Yeah.
There aren't too many schools that I go into that have air conditioned gyms. And we go into a lot of school districts.
there are very few. Even some of the new big, huge gyms that we put in, like Cahoes, One of the Lead, and some of the really, really sizable competition gymnasiums, they're not air conditioning in those spaces. So
The gym is a cool spot.
it's a
not
great spot.
bad.
It is.
Yeah. It's not that hot at
It's
all.
not hot. Take the It was kids, very as comfy you say, down there today. To go to the gym. Very comfy.
Right.
On field day, it's a cool down
Well,
station.
yeah,
It's like
you're
you
right.
go in to
Yeah.
cool down. It's not.
It has a thermal mass characteristic to it as well. I mean, you've got cow wall windows, which essentially let a little bit of light in, but not a lot of heat. It's a massive brick wall, so you're
Takes
keeping
longer for
it
the
cool.
heat to get in.
Same thing like on a day like today. Sometimes it's better if you leave the windows in the house closed, then open everything up and let the hot air blow through. It tends to regulate the temperature. The whole idea is, again, level out the curve. So you're going to have highs and lows. The other thing that's important to note that, say it's going to be 94 on today, you'd have to turn on that air conditioning system about 2 days in advance to get the whole space to be ready to go by the time that 94-degree day hits. It takes a lot of time so that it's not just like flip the switch and automatically it's cold. It'll be blowing cold air out, but to get that space to temperature, it takes a long time for that to happen.
right, you're talking me out of it.
Well, yeah, but just because I need to rate so right now we're talking about it as if there are really no benefits to it. How did it get on this list?
Yeah, how
First
is it
of all,
on the list?
I don't want to say there isn't benefits. I mean, if you know you're going to have a performance, you know you're going to have an event, you know you're going to have we're going to be using that stage for a performance.
It also got on the list because there was, do you want air conditioning? Yes.
Yeah, there was a committee that was put together, and that was one of the items I got.
Yeah, so it was an option given, they're like, absolutely.
Okay, so but it
Certainly
looks
it
like
has
we probably
benefits.
would only use it 4 times a year. Is that the deal?
I think that when it all shakes out and we start talking about it realistically, that's probably what we're talking about.
It's a different
Well,
question
then it's a
now.
no-brainer.
I didn't get that at
I
all.
thought we were going to be using it every day in
Yeah.
June when the kids are dying, but if that's not the case, then
For what it's worth,
September is very hot.
a little fact, I just asked Andy, our night custodian, what the temperature is right now, and he said it's 78 degrees in the gym right now, for what that's worth.
78.
78 right now in the gym.
Yeah.
I don't know what that, I just thought I'd share that fact, you know.
15-degree dip.
Yeah, 65 would be better.
He's working on it.
20 seconds.
So, okay.
Right.
How low do you want to go?
Right.
65,
It's
yeah.
going to be warmer than usual with thunderstorms.
Always is. It's always warmer than usual.
There are always
Always.
going to be instances where, no matter what we do, the space is going to be warmer than we would like it to be. I mean, that's the fact of the matter is that, air conditioning, you can put the air conditioning in there, you can run the heck out of it, try and get that space down to be cool. But you're going to have days when it's 102 outside, and you're just not going to be able to get that space as cool as you need to be.
So if we decide to take that out of, if we take the air conditioning off right now and we go for one of the modified upgrades or whatever, is that a decision we need to make today as well? Is it structurally different, or is it just moving the units?
That is different, yeah.
Yeah.
That is a decision that we would be able to kind of push off a little bit. If the decision is...
Which one, I'm sorry?
So if we upgrade the existing...
Oh, no, the modification as
That's not a
opposed to the...
structural change.
No.
That's just drop it off the ceiling, modify it, put it back.
Put it back up.
Yeah, okay.
So that's something we can accomplish. Well, the other thing is we don't have to buy a new unit, so we don't have the lead time associated with that. We're not supporting it structurally. We already know it's going to be supported structurally. That's a decision that if the decision is we're not going to go with air conditioning, we're not going to put the units on the roof, that's the decision we need to have made. We can revisit this decision on the upgrades, at a later date. That's not time
Correct.
sensitive as
When we find out where the money is. Because,
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
As usual. If that unit, as everything breaks, die, and we need to replace that one, is whatever you guys, the modification that you do, it's gonna be okay for the other unit, the new unit, or?
Well, there's 2 units in there. So one went down, we have the other one that kind of
back up?
kind of back up for a little while. Can't run
Right.
independently, or can't
Right.
run exclusively like that. But we would, now, that unit was put in 2008, it's got a lot of life left in it. It can be maintained and serviced
Right.
for the foreseeable future. If for some reason you had some kind of catastrophic failure, the likelihood of having to take the whole thing down out of the ceiling, we would replace components. If we burned out a motor, or needed a belt replacement, or needed a fan, or whatever the case may be, that would be the upgrade to that particular piece of equipment. Is that,
Instead of the air conditioning, can we do something with that back wall? Because like Ms. Cass said, having my kids in that side of the of the school, this sun beating in the afternoon, it's like unbearable to be in a classroom not having a fan. And I know that most of the teachers have fans and stuff like that. I don't know if we can do. I know that our windows are very new compared to, but it will be something that we can make better and cooler for the kids in that side.
you're talking about in the kindergarten?
Yeah, well, that's the whole side.
Didn't we put something too, but it hasn't been that
It's-
effective.
no.
Reflectors
It's
last
not- it's
time.
not
sunshade.
really.
Project.
And they were gonna, and the trees were planted to kind
Right.
of give
That's
some
why we
shade.
should let work.
Yeah, those take a little while to grow.
A little
I think
while,
if we're
yeah.
talking about the gym,
Well, no,
we
I'm
should.
thinking more of those deflectors haven't
I think we
worked
should
so
stick
well.
to the gym.
Yeah.
It would be nice to do air conditioning through the entire building, but
bridge too far.
Right now, that's not even
No,
on
I'm
the
not
table.
talking about air conditioning, just something that will make something cooler, like future in windows or like shades or something like that.
We have shades.
There are different treatments that we can do. I mean, and it certainly could be incorporated into a future capital project. I mean, there's no reason why we couldn't revisit that.
Yeah, definitely something to think about later. So I think,
Since you brought up the little trees that are back there, are they going to be affected by the project? No.
No.
Okay, because I was going to see if, I was asking if they could be transplanted.
No, we
'Cause I-
specifically
Stay away.
stay away
Okay.
from those. Because those eventually, when those do grow,
That'll be our shame.
they
Take it
grow,
so
they
this
will
long
have
to
a
that
benefit.
point.
I just realized they were there the other day looking out the window and I'm like, oh my God, are we going to lose those brand new little trees? Okay.
so if nobody else has any questions, I think we should probably have our go around and what people think. Do you want to start, Kathy?
For
The
what I
AC.
think about-
Would you rather do,
I'd rather
the
just
full-
upgrade the ventilation system and not do air conditioning at this time, if that's what you're asking.
yes,
Yeah.
I'm sitting with that.
great.
Yes, I'm good with that.
We'll get it there, but maybe we can do all buildings. Wouldn't it be great to do the whole building at some
We'll
point?
make it a winter play.
Well, it's a March play now, so that
I don't know,
it's much
December's a bit
better.
hot lately.
I too, I think I'm just for the upgrade of the current units. And
So
additional-
that's a question that we'll revisit, because for now, we're just taking the
Yes.
AC off the table.
Again, there's still cost implications there, and we need to make that decision when those funds are, before, obviously with enough advance so we can get it done within the confines of the capital project, for sure. We've got some time on being able to make that.
So
decision.
can you work up estimates on the options?
Yeah.
Because it sounded like we had at
have
least
those.
two. Oh, I'm
Yeah,
sorry, I
There
must
is
have
three
missed
of them.
one.
Yep, the three options.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's okay. We can share those.
So I think you have all your answers.
That's the answers.
Great.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Nice
Good discussion.
question.
Now, have fun on the playground, building stuff.
Yeah. Yes.
What's the bubble that we have to make up? Do we know how much that is? Like what we were off by that we have to balance out?
I will say we do.
Roundabout?
We do, yes.
Oh, you do?
We do. Yes. We'll work on that. So, okay.
But these things certainly make a difference to that.
They do, so we're getting close by giving up these good things.
Well, I think what's important to understand is that we have a viable project going forward.
Oh, yeah.
So there's no reason why we can't keep moving forward with the project.
Thanks for also.
You got your problem.
Congratulations. You know, it's gonna be a great 4. I love it. I know you want to.
Do you have anything else for us?
I think you're all set.
Thank you.
Thank you for
Thank
coming
you.
on.
Thanks,
And we'll
guys.
see you with probably monthly updates of kind of what's.
Yes. So, yeah, I'll
You see us.
Yeah, you're gonna
And so,
not wanna
yeah,
see
like a
us after
schedule
long.
on these meetings as
Yes.
well. when that
So
happens.
that went out to all the contractors this week, and also went to the OACM meetings.
Okay.
He can distribute the invitations for that as it is fit.
Fantastic.
But that all went out, Scott put all that together this week, and it's all been distributed, so we're on target for having, since now that things are starting, we want to make sure we can keep on target. And then on a monthly, or sometimes bi-monthly when things are slower, we may want to, we'll do updates to the board. That'll be with our architecture team and our construction management team as well.
And that'll include like future decisions like what we had to do today.
Yeah.
The next steps in it.
We'll have those decisions vetted out, and have those decisions made ahead of time, hopefully, and then review it with the board during the board meeting.
We'll let you know
But
about
it's-
each decision, so if you
Right,
have
the
any,
more time that you can give us
I'll
to
send you the same information that I've sent a week ago, so that you guys have some time.
then,
before
yeah,
that
talk
does.
about
Great.
it. internally.
I would say if possible, if we could get that like at least a month to 6 weeks ahead of time, that would be better for us.
Right.
Because we really can't talk about things
Right.
as a group
Yeah.
unless
Unless
we
you're-
schedule a meeting.
Yep, absolutely, understood.
So take a look at the packet for anything that's a 3-month, are the things that we're going to be, I guess.
The next set.
Those are the
next
That's the
steps.
next.
That's the next step.
Next
So I'll start working on that then.
Perfect.
And if you have any questions, we'll go through the same communication line.
Fantastic.
That's great.
Awesome, thanks,
Thank
Tom.
you.
All right, thanks, Ed.
Thank you.
Thank you. Keep
See
cool.
you soon.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm never put an umbrella.
Go turn on your air conditioning.
Yep.
Good night. Okay. That was a good discussion. Yep.
It felt so heavy, you know?
It's a 4, wasn't it?
Okay. Moving on. 2.2, the district/superintendent's program report.
Sure. Besides, of course, as you can see, CSR is pretty much ready to start setting up shop. But they kind of alluded to June 5th, so we've been kind of very busy as a board, and the district are working on that. But as you know, our biggest probably highlight since our last board meeting is the passing of our budget on Tuesday. And I will say, besides the number piece, it was an 84% yes margin for that Proposition 1, which is fantastic. So again, while again our N is lower than obviously other districts, it is impressive when you see a budget passed by that rate to see that kind of support for our work. So that's great. And as you can see from our budget newsletter, it does include the maintenance of great things and also an increase to our library media specialists, which is very exciting for us too. So it'll be an immediate impact to our students next year. And Ms. Fakir, of course, is very excited by that. So that's been our major focus, is getting that budget ready, and everything else has been kind of some other pieces that we've been doing as a building. I'll actually let Dr. Yotis refer to in terms of some PD that we've been doing with our faculty.
Well, before you move on to that, for the budget.
Yes.
I don't know if you've looked at it lately or not, but over the last, 3 to 5 years, I know we've passed all our budgets. Do you know what our percentages has been for those years?
Don't know. I can certainly get that information.
Okay.
I'm happy to.
Thank you.
I mean, watching the news, it looked like all districts had good turnout. I think the weather obviously was the first non-rainy day we had in like forever. So the turnout is disappointing, but it was great to have a budget that we're secure with, and you did a good job.
And great question. If I might also say, I think last year, this being my first year, we had a much. I think we were at the 287 mark of total voters, but I think that was also because we had thrown that non-binding proposition, the veterans piece. So I think that might have, again, historically, Sharon, if you don't mind, we'll kind of look at our overall numbers, but it seemed like that brought a lot of people that might normally not vote to kind of voice their opinion on that. But it'll be interesting what our numbers look like and the percentage. I'll get that out to you guys.
Definitely agree with that assessment. Yeah. Okay, so I think I interrupted as he was about to turn it over to you, Dr. Yotis.
Okay. Since we met last, we've gone through the testing round for New York State, ELA, and math, 3 days each. They went very smoothly. I think the state has put a lot of accommodations and made a lot of concessions to make right with everything that's happened. So, the tests were a lot shorter. The kids got extended time. Teachers felt that they were extremely fair, which again to me is a good sign that our district is hopefully moving in that direction of being more closely aligned our curriculum. That kids were doing okay, and many kids were done in less than an hour. Some kids took a few hours. There were a few kids that wanted to take that extra time, and they were allowed that. Also, for the first time, kids with special needs were able to have the test read, even in ELA. So that was just another big win for our students who struggle in reading. So overall, I think it was very low key. We had good participation rates, and I think we get a lot of good data back from those tests. The state is releasing, they said like 75% of the tests back with the actual results of how our kids did, so we can really analyze each component, question, and look at how kids did in certain areas that will help us to grow as a staff, as well as certainly address those areas of weakness for our kids. So I was quite pleased with how that went and what we will be getting back for this. So I was happy about that.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
What's the benefit to the state to not release all the questions? Why do they only release a portion?
Just because of the amount of time that it takes to, each test, so embedded in this test was a lot of field test questions. So, it takes years to make a question and field test it, and then, they're pretty valuable. So if you release it, you can't use it again. So we got to a point where they were giving half back, and this year they're saying 75%, which means they have to have a lot of people writing test questions and have them really looked at for reliability and validity before they will put it on a test. So I'm assuming letting all the questions, I can't imagine how much work would go into making brand new tests every year. But obviously they're doing something in that direction.
So even if I'm going to totally simplify this, but they couldn't just rephrase the test instead of Johnny going to Seattle.
Yeah.
Francis is going to Albuquerque.
You're hired.
Are they really that much more complicated? Is there that much embedded into
Yeah. I don't know,
a third
the
grader's
lockdown procedures
test
and how
question?
tightly locked up these are. I don't know.
Okay. Thank you.
So, moving in the right direction, though, I would like to say. As Dr. Reardon was alluding to, we had some great professional development that 8 of our teachers had the opportunity to have last week, instructional rounds. And the instructional rounds is really the medical model of doing rounds, and it's really educators getting together, going into different schools, and really looking at the tasks, the teaching, the instruction, and having amazing discussions about best practices and what they look like, and really getting everybody on the same page. So that was a 2-day training that we collaborated with Wynantskill and shared the expense with them. One day was at Wynantskill, one day was here. That the trainers came over, and once you are trained for 2 days, you're able to go on a round. And Jean Marie and Steph Carbone had been trained last year, as this was a new piece that we were learning about. Questars trying to get more districts involved in that. Dr. Reardon reached out to Wynantskill, and we partnered with them. So 8 of our teachers and Dr. Reardon and I were trained. At the training, she happened to let us know that they had a round going in Richfield Springs on Tuesday. So the 2nd grade team and I hopped in the car and drove an hour and a half west and actually took part in the rounds. And it was just absolutely amazing. A group of 30 of us went through this K-12 district, and each one of us did 6 observations, saw 6 different classrooms. You're taking notes, you're looking, you're analyzing, and they ask you to look for certain things. Are questions rigorous? Are teachers giving our children enough wait time? Is there a productive struggle? Are kids really thinking and having a productive struggle, not being frustrated but not having things too easy? So there's a list of things that you're trained by the superintendent and principal give you, and then you go off and you're doing all this observation. You bring this great data back, and you meet in a room, all 30 of you, put your sticky notes and your data there, and you try to find patterns throughout. So we were able to it's a long day, it's an amazing process, but by the end of the day, you leave that superintendent and principal with 3 or 4 recommendations that you noticed was a trend K-12, which was pretty amazing. And people from all over the state were there, and just giving really unbiased feedback to that team. But what they're saying is, even more than you leave that principal and superintendent, the amount of growth that you get as being an observer going into the classrooms, seeing different teaching styles and tasks and building. I mean, it was just amazing. We got so much out of the visit. It was great. So we're really hoping that that's a big, though it's not an initiative, it's not something different, it's just being more reflective. And so they're hoping that Wynantskill will be a site this fall. Nice. And so we talked about it at the faculty meeting. We're hoping to roll out more training on opening day and getting our teachers comfortable enough to let a team to come in and see what we do here and how we can make Gardner-Dickinson a better school. And then certainly keep going out to see other districts. So it's really exciting, and it was just a wonderful experience for those teachers and for myself. And so that was our big week.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
That's fantastic.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You had a good lockdown drill?
Yes, yes. Sorry, I missed the lockdown drill because I was in an hour and a half away.
Oh.
Tom had a good lockdown drill. I wasn't here. I missed the drill.
Oh, see, it was that much of a surprise. Yes, it was good. Yeah. It was good.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Moving on, 2.4, PTO /PTA, maybe?
I haven't been here forever. I think I missed you there.
Who are you?
We missed you too, Sue.
A lot happening at PTO right now. So just, we've had a lot. I think the last meeting I was here, it was in January. We've had a lot. I don't need to go through every event that we've held. I'll just hit some of the high points. We did have our book fair. As you know, each teacher walks away with a book, so we brought in $500 worth of books to the library alone, and then probably an additional $650 for each one of our teachers. So you're looking at about $1,200 worth of books that come into the school, so it's very exciting. Didn't really have to hound anybody to get their free book this year. It's even better. We had a very successful recently boys and girls events within the last 2 weeks. I think we had a turnout of about 65 boys for the boys event. I heard it was a lot of fun. And the girls event had recently had a dance last Friday, and those had great turnouts. We have just stopped a fundraiser. We had a catalog fundraiser in the spring. That was something new. We were trying to beef up our playground a little, as you all know. So we sold about $5,500 worth of items.
Bags.
Wow.
We get 50% of that, so there's another swing set. Yeah, we had bags and catalog, online orders are still available if anybody's interested, but order forms are done. Those get an extra 10%. So we're working on exciting news. We all know that we have the induction. We had recently the induction of SEPTA, special ed PTA, and we as a PTO have decided to also reorganize to a PTA. So we are undergoing all of that change now. We had our last meeting of the year last week, which really is now not the last meeting of the year because we have to have a charter meeting like SEPTA did, and that will be coming up on June 19th. We need a minimum of 25 people there to pay their membership dues. We are all stepping down as a board, and we have new members stepping in. So I'm tickled pink. Like such enthusiastic new groups of parents. I can't wait. So we have them all lined up. They're all game, and we've got a new president, two vice presidents, a secretary, and a treasurer. So it's very exciting. We've never had that before in all my 6 years here. Like really, I can't describe it.
Well, you're glowing.
Yeah, I really could be just because I painted the deck today. It was like, but we also had a lot of work to do with Mary. I don't even know where to start with the summer work of trying to get in this new equipment that we want to put in the playground and rearranging the old equipment that has to make room for the new equipment, and the already touched base with Neil Benassi, and I got a whole mulch lesson that I had no idea about. Okay, oh my gosh, then I just something I'd never even thought of. So that we're gonna have to account for thousands of dollars in mulch and different people there. So we have lots to think about. So I hope to somehow get in touch with you and sit down with Neil and the architect Neil thinks and figure all this out and start ordering some stuff so that hopefully it'll get in before the fall. So I'm ready to get going on that when things come down for school. And that's about it.
So just one quick question. There was that survey and all that, where did the money ever go?
So that's what we were talking about. Basically, everybody wanted either a new baseball field, which was $40,000, or outdoor equipment. So we've got a whole bunch of things sort of earmarked as to what we would like, where can we fit it, can we accommodate it between the soccer field and without disrupting any of the space needed for the construction areas, and swing sets, climbing bars, even small things like tether balls, like maybe a little area for Foursquare, anything. We're just looking at trying to put anything back there to accommodate middle school and elementary school.
Okay.
Benches, buddy benches, a lot of requests for buddy benches. It's a new thing. Yeah, buddy bench. It's like literally says buddy bench.
Cool, thanks.
So it's exciting. What's going on?
Thank you, sir. Okay. Moving on to appointments and authorizations. 3.1, approve the CSE, CPSE recommendations as per attached. I need a motion.
All motion?
Second.
Any discussion? No? The roll?
Okay, Mrs. Castle?
Yes.
Mr. Hirakawa?
Yes.
Mr. Lancy? Mrs. Mack?
Yes.
Mr. Strang?
Yes.
3.2, approve the 2017-2018 Board of Education meeting calendar. I need a motion
I'll motion.
I'll second.
and discussion.
I just had a couple questions because I meant to check the school calendar and I forgot. The February and April meeting, are they too close to spring or winter break? You know how our April 1 fell on that Thursday night, so we ended up
Before
moving
Good
it.
Friday.
Yeah.
So you got it.
So I didn't look at the calendar. Was that checked?
No, yeah, it was great question. The February meeting is the week before the vacation, so that's good. And then actually we have a very early April break next year. It's almost like March. It starts in March.
It's the
Really?
first week of April.
Yes, like it ends April 6th.
Oh, okay.
So I think we should be in good shape. Yeah, it's
Okay.
great question though. But yeah, this.
So the March 15th one doesn't interfere with it then, right?
No, it's like April break's like March 30th through April 7th. I feel like, or something like that.
And September 21st is Rosh Hashanah. Does that matter to anyone? I mean, I don't know if that's an issue for anyone or not.
School's not closed.
Schools.
Schools aren't closed, so we can, okay.
Right there.
Is that a problem for anybody?
So,
People might want to attend.
Would we want to move it to another night, either Tuesday or Wednesday, the same week? Just leave it alone?
We could table it for now, or we could adopt it and then readdress it later when we've had time to look at our calendar.
What's the question that it may preclude people from showing up? Yeah.
All four.
It's the whole community.
I guess my personal opinion is, I mean, we typically always get the same people. We don't want to preclude anybody, but I don't know that it necessarily would.
I feel like changing dates kind of messes people up, or could mess people up more. I mean, we're always the third Thursday of the month. We don't conflict with the town board.
Right. I know that's important to others.
It's important to some people.
Some constituents.
So,
Actually, to point out a couple things too is I think it does conclude that, but also we have the open houses that month too, so it's always kind of a tough month to find that sweet spot of where. And the only one that is off cycle, as you know, is we've always, the past 2 years, traditionally the August meeting is the fourth Thursday. But we thought that was good because it's right before we go back. So if we have any last minute hiring, we're not meeting too early in August, but then calling an emergency meeting to hire any sort of, if we had a teacher resign or we needed something else. So
yeah, that's my vacation week, but I'm sure you'll all carry on. It'll be fine.
I think the only other question I have for everybody is 7 o'clock still good for everybody? Is there any conflict with that?
I'm free.
Okay, so I think we'll move forward with as is, and if we think we need to adjust it at a later date, we will. Roll?
Yes.
Mr. Hirakawa?
Yes.
Mr. Hennessy?
Yes.
Mrs. Mack?
Yes.
Mr. Strang?
Yes.
3.3, certification of the budget vote, bus proposition, and Board of Election results. I need a motion.
So move.
And a second?
Second.
Armin.
You were the two elected.
We got a second?
Yeah, second.
Yeah.
Okay. Discussions? I guess the only thing really to say is that the budget did pass. Final tally was 33 yes, 25 no. On Proposition 2, the bus proposition, 138 yes, 21 no. And for the Board of Education, Eric Strang had the most votes, so he will get the 3-year term. And Keith Hirakawa had the second most votes, so he will get the 1-year term.
And that was second out of 4, right?
That's right.
When you
second.
count,
Yeah.
Second out of 4.
That's right. When you count the write-ins, yes.
50th percentile. Good.
Anyone have any questions, comments, concerns?
Mrs. Castle?
Yes.
Mr. Hirakawa?
Yes.
Mr. Hennessy?
Yes.
Mrs. Mack?
Yes.
Mr. Mr. Strang.
Yes.
Okay, 3.4, approve Emily Labate as step 1 prorated as long-term elementary teacher teacher substitute effective April 24th, 2017 through June 23rd, 2017 as per the WTA contract. Motion?
A motion.
And a second?
Second.
And just so people know, this is for
Mrs. Galoo.
Mrs. Kelsey.
Yes.
Mr. Hill.
Yes.
Mr. Lennessy.
Yes.
Mrs. Mack.
Yes.
Mr. Strang.
Yes.
Okay. 3.5, approve an unpaid leave of absence for Christine Delamater, effective April 2nd, 2017, until further notice. Can I have a motion
Motion.
and a second?
Second.
Any discussion? You want to comment on
Yep,
that?
sure. Just this is one of our bus drivers who is on extended leave of absence, a medical piece, has exhausted her sick time. The drivers did do a pool of time to collect, but of course that did run out as well. So at this point, we're not sure if she's able to return to work. So.
Mrs. Castle.
Yes.
Mr. Hirakawa.
Yes.
Mr. Lannessy.
Yes.
Mrs. Mack.
Yes.
Mr. Strang.
Yes.
3.6, accept the resignation of Mary Rose Ryan as the designated Chief Election Inspector for the May 16, 2017 annual school board election and vote. Motion?
A motion.
Second.
Second.
Discussion?
She had surgery.
Okay.
So she was unable to medically make it. She was.
Thank you. Roll?
Okay. Mrs. Castle.
Yes.
Mr. Hirakawa.
Yes.
Mr. Lannessy.
Yes.
Mrs. Mack.
Yes.
Mr. Strang.
Yes.
And I think this one relates to that. 3.7, approve Elizabeth Livingston as designated Chief Election Inspector at $10.50 per hour for the May 16, 2017 annual school board election and budget vote. Need a motion?
Move.
And a second?
Second.
And the roll?
Mrs. Castle.
Yes.
Mr. Hirakawa.
Yes.
Mr. Lannessy.
Yes.
Mrs. Mack.
Yes.
Mr. Strang.
Yes.
3.8, approve Stephanie Ryan as Assistant Clerk at $9.75 per hour for the May 16, 2017 annual school board election and budget vote. Need a motion?
Motion.
And a second.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll?
Okay. Mrs. Castle.
Yes.
Mr. Hirakawa.
Yes.
Mr. Lannessy.
Yes.
Mrs. Mack.
Yes.
Mr. Strang.
Yes.
Approve the following extracurricular appointments for the 2017-18 school year as per the WTA contract. We have Janine Mitchell for Builders Club, Janine Mitchell and Mary Alice Newell for Drama Club, Mary Alice Newell for All County Band, Samantha Swart for All County Chorus, John Leroy as the accompanist, Dan DeSoto, Mary Alice Newell, Kelly Portler, Tammy Miller, Andy Degwire, Janine Mitchell as chaperones, Daniel DeSoto for intramurals, Samantha Swart for NISMA Chorus, Mary Alice Newell for NISMA Band, Janine Mitchell, Karen Kane, Kaylin Kinley, Kelly Potler, Andrew Newmark, Gina Mahoney for Odyssey of the Mind for coaches for 3 teams, Laura Horacek and Mary Therese Butcher for 8th grade advisors, Samantha Swart for the modified cross-country coach, Dan DeSoto and Sam Davis as the modified boys soccer coaches, Michelle French and Kate Cronin as modified girls soccer coaches, Sarah Sepp yearbook, Laura Horacek, Matt Lutz, Sarah Sepp, Janine Mitchell, Mary Alice Newell, Patty Rowe, and Karen Keene for homework center. I need a motion.
A motion.
Second.
Any discussion? Anything you want to say?
That pretty much captures all of our extracurricular clubs and activities except for the winter and spring sports. So that's pretty much everything.
Good.
Actually, it is everything except for
Good. I do remember years where we were
yeah.
appointing them, some of these positions at the August meeting, so it's good that we get it locked down now. Roll?
Mrs. Castle.
Yes.
Mr. Hirakawa.
Yes.
Mr. Lannessy.
Yes.
Mrs. Mack.
Yes.
Mr. Strang.
Yes.
3.10, appoint Kathy Vale as part-time 21 hours a week plus 10 summer days, CSC CPSE secretary, effective July 1st, 2017 through June 30th, 2018. Need a motion?
Motion?
Need a second?
Second.
Any discussion? I think Kathy's been doing this for quite a while now. The roll?
Okay. Mrs. Castle?
Yes.
Mr. Hirakawa?
Yep.
Mr. Lanacy?
Yes.
Mrs. Mack?
Yes.
Mr. Strang?
Yes.
3.11, appoint Amy Murphy as 1.0 FTE plus 10 summer days as guidance counselor beginning July 1st, 2017. This is the teachers,
Yep, step 16 of the WTA
the
contract.
WTA contract. Thank you. Need a motion?
Motion.
And a second?
Second.
Any discussion? I think this is what Amy's been doing.
She's always done that at the 10 summer days. And we just put it July 1st. It has to be the new school year, the summer time.
Right.
So we work out 10 days that are convenient for all of us.
Good. Any discussion?
Mrs. Castle? Mr. Hirakawa? Mr. Lanacy?
Yes.
Mrs. Mack?
Yes.
Mr. Strang?
Yes.
Spot 3.12. Appoint Wendy DeBell as part-time .6 school nurse at St. Jude's beginning August 30th, 2017 through June 30th, 2018 at step 19 prorated. And I believe this is also the WTA contract?
Yes, that's what we're doing.
A motion?
And a second?
Second.
Any discussion? I believe she's been doing this
Doing this
for
also quite some time.
quite a while. The roll?
Mrs. Castle?
Yes.
Mr. Hirakawa?
Yep.
Mr. Lanacy?
Yes.
Mrs. Mack?
Yes.
Mr. Strang?
Yes.
3.13, approve Barbara Cole as transportation supervisor effective July 1st, 2017 through June 30th, 2018 at $26.53 per hour with a salary not to exceed $23,690. Need a motion?
A motion.
Got a second?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion?
Also, as you know, Bonnie's been doing this quite some years. So Bonnie works part-time for us, as you know. She does, but works well beyond, I will say, those hours regardless on her own time. She's very awesome. She's great.
Mrs. Castle?
Yes.
Mr. Hirakawa?
Yes.
Mr. Lanacy?
Yes.
Mrs. Mack?
Yes.
Mrs. Strang?
Yes.
Mr. Strang?
It's all right. It's all right. It felt worse.
3.14, approve contracts for bus drivers, 11 and 12-month employees for the 2017-18 school year. I need a motion.
Motion.
Second.
Discussion. Could you just explain just so people know?
Absolutely.
11 and 12-month employees.
Those are, again, besides bus drivers, those are clerical staff, custodians, and of course, at some point, administrative role, Mary and myself. So basically, it approves those contracts.
Any discussion?
Belle and Denise as well.
Thank you. Clarifying.
The roll?
Mrs. Castle? Mr. Hirakawa?
Yes.
Mr. Lanacy?
Yes.
Mrs. Mack?
Yes.
Mr. Strang?
Yes.
3.15, approve Thomas Reardon and Mary Yotis as lead teacher evaluators for the 2017-18 school year. Need a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Now with this, I believe do we need a exemption to have you?
Yes, actually, great point. Yes, as part of our APPR plan, you have to have lead evaluators. So myself and Dr. Yoder serve as lead evaluators for the building. We have an exemption as in a building because we are small. Technically, the first observation in APPR is done by the principal. The second is supposed to be done by an independent evaluator, either that's hired out by Questar or another superintendent would come over and there'd be some sort of change. So because of our size, we were able to receive an exemption so that I can do the observation. So we're both lead evaluators in the building.
And that's a savings for the district.
It is,
You
yes.
don't have to hire out.
We don't have to hire out, right? As per most plans, you'd have to hire out someone that truly didn't have a horse in the race, so to speak, but because of our size, they get that. So we share.
If anybody else wanted to do that, we'd be open to discussion.
Okay. Any other questions or discussion? The roll?
Mrs. Castle?
Yes.
Mr. Hirakawa?
Yes.
Mr. Lanacy?
Yes.
Mrs. Mack?
Yes.
Mr. Strang?
Yes.
3.16, Robert Hurd as recess/cafeteria aide, 3 hours a day for the 2017-2018 school year. Do we have a rate for him?
Yes, I believe he's $12.92
$12.92
per hour. Okay.
So can we reflect that in the minutes? That's
Okay,
good.
thank you. I need a motion.
Motion.
And a second.
Second.
Any discussion? No? The roll?
Okay, Mrs. Castle?
Yes.
Mr. Hirakawa?
Yes.
Mr. Lancy?
Yes.
Mrs. Mack?
Yes.
Mr. Strang?
Yes.
3.17, Karen Keegan as cafeteria monitor, 2 hours a day for the 17-18 school year. Do we have a rate for her? Just so we're open and prepared.
We are believing it is $14.46 an hour. She's been doing this a long time as well.
And
Hence
I will
the
reflect the exact dollar amount in the minutes.
Okay, thank you. Yes, she has been doing this a long time. She's been doing this since I think I was in kindergarten.
Very good at it.
Debatable. Need a motion.
Moved.
Second. Discussion? The roll?
Mrs. Castle?
Yes.
Mr. Hirakawa?
Here.
Mr. Lancy?
yes.
Mr. Lancy?
Yes.
Mrs. Mack?
Yes.
Mr. Strang?
Yes.
3.18, approve Brenda Alderman as a recess/office aide, 3 hours a day for the 17-18 school year.
At $12.92.
$12.92. Need a motion?
Motion.
And a second.
Second.
Any discussion? The roll?
Mrs. Castle?
Yes.
Mr. Hirakawa?
Yes.
Mr. Lancy?
Yes.
Mrs. Mack?
Yes.
Mr. Strang?
Yes.
3.19, approve the 6th grade field trip to the Bronx Zoo on June 5th, 2017. Can I have a motion?
Motion.
And a second.
Second.
Any discussion?
I'll be attending.
Okay.
Good luck.
Hoping it's like a day like
Great
today.
trip.
Yeah, you and I went on it 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Mm.
It's a great trip.
It is.
And there's lots of shade,
Mm.
honestly. It was a hot day that day too, but there was quite a
Actually, no, last year when we went, it was raining, so I'll take this. Today would be fine
Yeah.
over the rain. So
Yeah.
Mrs. Castle?
Yes.
Mr. Hirakawa?
Yes.
Mr. Lancy?
Yes.
Mrs. Mack? Yes. Mr. Strang?
Yes.
3.20, resolved that the Board of Education of the Wynantskill Union Free School District hereby authorizes the funding of the district-approved reserves with the excess of 4% from the unassigned fund balance at June 30th, 2017. The allocation of such fund balance will be determined subsequent to the June 30th, 2017 and prior to setting the tax levy. Can I have a motion?
Motion.
And a second?
Second.
Can you just explain this a little?
I'd be honored to, actually. So basically, what you're authorizing us as a district to do is, when the books close June 30th, the first thing we do is replenish our fund balance, make the maximum 4%, and then what you're basically authorizing us to do is anything above 4% is to basically reallocate into unassigned fund balance, which is, again, our other reserves, like capital reserve, insurance reserves, things like that. So you're giving us the authority to take anything above the 4% and use that for, the other spots we use it, purchase of equipment, other reserves.
Is that on
purchase
top
of
of the
buses,
bus?
When the buses come?
The buses come after, yeah, so after the 4%, then we would purchase the buses. And then we would put everything in
Why does
reserve.
it say prior to setting the tax levy? Didn't we, isn't it 2.45, or is there somewhere else where we vote on 2.45? I'm confused.
It is interesting, right?
Do you know what I'm
Sounds
saying?
good.
Because didn't we just vote on the budget,
Mhm.
there's 2.45, or am I?
Yep, like we set the tax levy, right? Is it tax rate?
Is that rate?
Is what it should be, tax rate,
Okay.
probably, so, because the townships haven't set their tax rate. But we set the levy, so you're right.
So is this wording correct, or do we need to?
I believe it just needs to be changed to tax rate.
Okay.
That's okay with it. Same proposition, but rate.
Okay. If you could just plug that in the minutes.
I didn't know I was going to be right. Go me.
Yeah.
High five.
It's late. It really is.
Okay.
I'm paying attention.
The roll?
Mrs. Castle?
Yes.
Mr. Hirakawa?
Yes.
Mr. Lanacy?
Yes.
Mrs. Mack?
Yes.
Mr. Strang?
Yes.
3.21, approval of substitutes. We have two. Suad Paldi is a substitute non-certified teacher at $70 per day. And Kyle Audie, substitute custodial, $12.50 per hour. And substitute kitchen, $9.70 per hour. We need a motion
Motion.
and a second.
Second.
Any discussion? The roll?
Mrs. Castle?
Yes.
Mr. Hirakawa?
Yep.
Mr. Lanacy?
Yes.
Mrs. Mack?
Yeah.
Mr. Strang?
Yes.
3.22, approval of the 2017 through 2022 district technology blueprint.
Motion.
And a second.
Second.
And discussion?
Sure. As you can see, and I reflected, basically what we try to do is we submit a technology plan every year. Actually, ironically, we just started working on next year's for the state. It's a very lengthy document. It's very much a philosophical statement. It's very much, I would say, it's very lengthy, but not a very user-friendly document. You know, timelines, action plans, action steps, things like that. And in essence, it doesn't really give you a clear picture, but you have to do it for the state to maintain your smart schools allocation. So we've done that. But what we decided to do was the district always had a 5-year technology plan on file, and it read very similarly. It was a 100-page document with skill-based things for each grade level, and whether they would be proficient, exposed, things like that. But again, it wasn't being used. So similar to our PD plan, we wanted to basically kind of highlight, we're buying a lot of things. We have a lot of devices, we're investing a lot in our infrastructure. But overall, what's a document that people would use and look at that we can update, obviously, frequently, or at least refer to in this case, because it's 5-year. So what we decided to focus on was kind of more the nuts and bolts in this year's plan, was rather than writing, we have that philosophical piece on file with the state, but which was do the things we use the technology for represent, 21st century skills, and this kind of affects the 21st century shell. But then, in essence, the biggest piece for us was kind of a replacement plan diet, if you will, because again, the biggest issue that faces schools is they buy a whole bunch of stuff, and then all of a sudden, 6 years from now, everything's outdated, hasn't been updated, and then you're doing a whole massive purchase again. So really, without a solid plan of almost a robust maintenance fleet of when does a machine go out of service, when do you harvest it for parts, when do you, for projectors, where you don't have every bulb going at the same time, and you wind up spending up $400 per bulb. We made, working in concert with Matt Lutz and our technology staff from Questar, we designed kind of basically a pretty solid plan that we will try to adhere to each year when we get our technology budget. So again, and that includes excess funds at times we receive from, Bullet Aid, from like Senator Marchione, but this gives us a guide for what we use that money for. So when we say technology, it's not just technology, it's we're using it to chip away at our, this plan, okay, or this year piece. So as you can see, we try to break it down in terms of a 5% replacement rate. So you see we kind of quantify that with kind of some rough numbers, but that helps us at least budget so we're not each year buying stuff without a purpose. So it keeps us on task.
So looking at the numbers, like I said, so 2016 inventory, 40 Chromebooks for 8th grade. How many 8th grade students do we have?
We have 8th grade students right now. We have about 30. This year we have about 33.
So in those grades, are there enough for every student?
There are, yes.
Okay.
Because basically, as much as they're not, there's in each grade level right now, for example, in the middle school, there's one cart per grade level. So for example, like Mr. Lutz has the 8th grade cart, Mrs. Delaney has the 7th grade cart, Mrs. Swart has the 6th grade cart, and that cart is enough for all students to use at any given time. And then upstairs, each room, for the most part, has 3 through 5 has their own cart.
On the disposal, do we have a vendor that's going to dispose of the technology when it becomes time to retire? And the only reason why I ask is there's liability on environmental issues if you don't get rid of it, and then also data security. Like they'll come and they'll actually throw the hard drives through grinders and stuff like that to make sure there's no way to get it off.
Great point. We actually work very closely with Questar. So when our pieces, when we do retire something fully, a lot of times we're able, at this point we've been very good at using things, like repurposing and reusing, but when something's being disposed of, with Questar they do like a technology recycling day, and we can be a part of that. So basically we've sent machines over, and if it is something like a hard drive, they do, wipe it clean. But it's through Questar, so it's nice. It's part of it.
I assume part of that is we get some kind of certification that whatever piece of equipment, there's an inventory that went. And it's all
Exactly, and
certified
it was
that-
taken out of inventory, and it was disposed of properly, like, it wasn't just thrown out in the back of
Yeah, usually they should generate a report back to us that lets us know serial number and then
Mm.
that they disposed of it, right? So then you have a manifest.
Exactly,
Yeah.
which is what Sharon maintains as
Yeah,
part
we
of
go by
inventory.
tag number. Every piece of equipment over $100 gets tagged.
Okay.
So then we go into the inventory system and we state that it was sent to recycling at Questar. And then we put the date, and then we take it out of inventory.
All right.
And where do like accessories like headphones and stuff, do they fall under this plan, or is that a different budget in that?
That typically.
I mean, they're
Mm.
usable.
Exactly.
I mean, I can tell you the ones in kindergarten are horrible. The pads come
The pads.
off, they're falling apart, they don't
They were
work.
part of the school
How
kit.
often do they have to get replaced?
Those, that's a great point. Some of the older grades will require as part of the supply list, like the actual buds, the actual pieces. But in terms of like the earphone, the inexpensive earphones you're seeing,
Headsets, yeah.
pretty much we use them until, and it really just depends on the classroom we're in. Some of them last 2 months, some of them last a whole year.
Yeah.
But that is part of our general supply. Like we pull that out.
Right, it's considered a bulk item, so you don't ask to tag them, but you buy a group of them and you kind of manage that off
Exactly.
the shelf, yeah.
That's why we buy we go for the inexpensive ones that we can replace. That way, if something happens to them, it's not like, well, the big ones are costly.
Right,
I do the kit every year for Cooper,
Mm.
buy the school kit, and it's in my kit.
The buds, right?
Buds, or
Yes.
the kit, yeah, as a spare or whatever, plus he also has his own, what do they call it, beats that I purchase
Well,
and send.
So if they come in the kit, then he has.
$3 extra in the kit.
He has his own pair for when it's his time on the iPad? Is that how that works?
Well, he mostly uses his Beats, but I'm just saying, if you go on to purchase, or, I don't know if it's on the regular school supply list, but they're there as well.
Mhm.
If parents want to send in their own and not use.
And I think some
community
teach-
supply.
Some people are creeped out by sharing your earbuds.
Hence why we purchased the less expensive ones. So if we had to throw out a whole bunch due to a lice
Lice.
infestation, let's say, we're
Yeah.
not throwing out something that we can't.
Yeah.
$200 a pair.
Right.
So, yeah, they run the kit, so. I just throw in yeah.
Okay. Any more questions, discussion? No?
Mrs.
Roll.
Castle?
Yes.
Mr. Hirakawa?
Yeah.
Mr. Lanisi?
Yes.
Mrs. Mack? Yes. Mr. Strang?
Yes.
3.23, we have second readings on removing some policies, and corresponding, we also have the approval of removing those same policies. I'm not going to read them all, but they are on the agenda if you're really interested in knowing what they are. And I have a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? Do you want to?
Just to kind of summarize, as you can see, this pretty much brings us up to, you can see the removal policies are policies that from the 0 through 400 series that the committee recommends are just obsolete, either not required, or actually for the most part they're not required. We found them to be kind of very micromanaging, so basically we wanted to keep a broad policy, not a very specific like handbook kind of piece. So the policy committee update, just so you know, we are ready for the 5,000 series. It is ready. It is a little bit harder to get people together at this point just because of the natural constraints. So what we're going to do is the policy committee has decided as a group to use Google Docs as an online way to look at just one policy, which is 5152, which is the non-resident tuition policy, which is kind of back to the discussion last time of whether faculty or staff could send their children here and how we could do that. So that policy is being isolated. So the goal is we will meet our goal of in June bringing the board a first reading of probably just that policy, and then the board can have discussion, of course, over the next June and July, August meetings on just that policy, with the hopes of convening the policy committee in July to do the rest of the policy in the 5,000 series. But that seemed to be a hot button item that was the board will be discussed more sooner than later. So
So what would the approval, just the timeline for that, will it be in place for next September so that the faculty or staff can make the decision or know where their kid's going to school?
great question.
So I
Depends on
guess,
how many times you send it back for a first reading.
All right.
So it depends on our discussion and.
But if, Happy Path, we get through it,
Yes.
should just be
I
two
mean,
weeks.
it's a pretty short policy.
It is short.
It's a short one.
So it's happy.
I can tell you from the
Okay.
discussion,
Oh, there's that.
Hi.
Where's CSR? What are they? I had to throw it out there. I'm sorry.
Didn't miss a beat.
I mean, I think it's a short policy. I think the discussion factors for us will be cost factor. What percentage would we be looking at for faculty to pay to come here compared to what the non-resident tuition really is? So that's really, we're kind of, as a committee in the Google Docs, we're kind of throwing numbers back and forth there, trying to be fair to faculty and also to taxpayers. So I think that'll be the biggest discussion point for us.
Actually, Kathy said it perfectly. What I did was today I did synthesize the comments to date. Obviously, there's still time for those pieces, and basically that was Kathy nailed it on the head. For the most part, we all agreed on some certain language that gave some latitude for students that might move in May, for example. Can they finish the school year out? Under the superintendent, things like that. But it probably would be what's the board comfortable with charging, if you will, a faculty member or staff member, that piece. So. Actually, to go back to your point, Eric, too, if it were a simple percentage or a simple piece, probably we could get away with it remaining. We'd have to go in July. If it was if it was a minor change, it didn't require going back to the table and revising. It probably could stay and almost be approved in the July second meeting, or if not, the August meeting. So.
And the July meeting is early. It's July 6th.
Okay.
Because we have to have it in the first so many days of the month. So it wouldn't be like the end of July. So they would still have plenty of notice.
Is there anything that the board can do in parallel in preparation and anything like that, just to be informed and make sure that we're
Sure. If it's okay with the board and the members of the policy committee, like we did synthesize the comments today. So in essence, if we weren't meeting today, I could have given you a first reading and said this is kind of what we could discuss. If it's okay, I'll share that with you as part of my Friday update, just to process. Without discussion, but at least process and maybe come to the table in June with a clear focus. Perhaps around that section regarding the cost.
And I made the changes to that document.
Excellent.
So
Thank you.
You should.
You read my handwriting. Thank you.
Of course.
That sounds good.
Questions or discussion? The roll?
Okay. Mrs. Castle?
Yes.
Mrs. Hirakawa?
Yes.
Mr. Landacy?
Yes.
Mrs. Mack?
Yes.
Mr. Strang?
yes.
4.0 informational. Our next meeting will be June 15th, 2017 at 7 p.m. And 4.2 opportunity for the public to be heard. Do we have anybody on the
Jean
list?
Marie.
Hi, Jean Marie.
I had a couple of questions, but they were all answered during the course
Awesome.
of the meeting, and I just wanted to reiterate, Mary said that instructional rounds, keep your ears open about that, because I think that's so powerful, and it's going to really bring a lot to the school. And I love the partnering with other districts, too, that we can just widen our network, and just open stuff.
Thank you. Is anybody else on the list?
No,
No.
I was actually going to sign. I saw the book was closed. Right. So just a quick question.
Can you just state your name
I'll
for the
sign.
record? Even though we all know your suit.
I'll sign it. I'll sign it. So where would I locate some of our student-based policies for cell phone usage, dress code, allowing toys into the
That's
school?
in the handbook that you signed in front of the agenda.
In the front of the
beginning of the
agenda.
year, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's
Well,
all,
I never read.
it's all on the website.
Right. Daughter would be here.
Under Board of Education,
Yeah.
and then policies.
Okay.
That's your navigation.
I just like
So
to
the
tease her.
cell phone
That's
policy
all in
right
their
in there, in
agendas.
that one little paragraph, that one page?
No, it's like 6
No, it's-
pages.
it's-
Seven
it's
pages.
We embed that into that.
Back and front.
Right,
Yes.
big in my folder.
And then you have to sign
It's
it.
just the one page you're supposed to read the stuff behind it.
Well, it's, my daughter apparently didn't know it either. I said, Lauren, what's your cell phone policy? She said, I don't know. I said, where do you find that? Oh, I don't know. Okay, she's curious. All right, good.
She signed it too.
Easy to find anything.
She knows what it says. I said she knows what it says.
So,
Is that it?
Did you have a
That was it.
Oh.
Okay, thank you.
I just want to.
Can you just state your name for the record?
Michelin guys.
Thank you.
Just for this news that the concert that was, I think that was one of the best performance last week. That was just awesome. That was really happening. I have some family members from Brazil, and my brother came from Pennsylvania, and he was really amazed by the band performance. That was like awesome.
Yes, you are small but mighty.
Mighty, that's just, you should add that to the mission.
Like blazing bugs.
Is that it? Okay, thank you. So I think we do have a need for executive session. I need somebody to make a motion for the purpose of medical, financial credit, employment history of a particular person, a corporation, or matters leading to employment, promotion, demotion, discipline, suspension, dismissal, or removal of a particular person or corporation.
A motion.
Wait a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, thank you.